Hi there. This is Monday, July 26th. Katie, I saw your message. I didn't get to read both of them. I read the first half of the first one, so I'll have to catch the other one afterwards. Of course, there's always quite a bit of news after a weekend. I'll just race through these as fast as I can. I'm announcing, I put it in the chat already. I will not be on the show on Thursday because I am taking care of an older lady. I'm helping so that anyhow should be here, but I just I need to concentrate and won't be able to go live. So I'm gonna just leave the computer off that day and on Thursday and take care of paying attention. Um, anyhow, it's interesting what the CDC is doing. The the CDC and a representative from NIH, and I think it was also the FDA, but I know it was for sure CDC and NIH, and they were asked, "What about your staff?" The Congress asked, "What about your staff? What percentage of them have been vaccinated?" Well, of course they go, "We don't know the exact number." So they tried to deflect and they said, well, give an approximation. Do you think maybe 50 to 60%? Yeah, probably 50 to 60%. So they can't get their own people to take this. That to me is a major heads up that half of them recognize what's really going on. Um, I read that 3/4 of the people who have COVID-19 in Singapore, 3/4 of them were, got the jab. Um, Now that's Singapore, but then I also read this weekend that the CDC is no longer going to report to VAERS or allow reports to VAERS. The reason VAERS numbers are so low is they're not allowing the numbers to be counted anymore of who is having this fatal side effect, if you get my drift. Um, What in the world is with Biden and his talk all weekend about sucking on children's blood? Oh my goodness. After his little, I can't call it a rally, but whatever his attempt at a rally, he would be asked questions and he would just turn it and ask about that. Oh my goodness. So if China avoids responsibility for this um, illness, and its biological weapons program is allowed to continue to exist with the gain of function research they are doing, doesn't it make sense that a more deadly illness is going to hit us? Well, our pilot friend was not allowed to land in Denver one day last week when he was probably taking body bags. I didn't ask what he was carrying. Might have been medical supplies. I really don't know what he was delivering, but he was told he was not allowed to get off the plane, go in and get a cup of coffee because there had been a child in Denver who had died of bubonic plague. Now, I had heard on the news plague, but they had not used the word bubonic. And then I was told that when he landed in Ohio, he was told there were 200 incidents of monkeypox. So there apparently were 200 people on the plane with the guy who came over from Nigeria supposedly carrying this monkeypox. But, and they, I heard over the weekend they were tracking 200 people around the country. And what's going on that all of a sudden a town in Ohio has a full 200 with this thing? This thing is, I'm not sure that it's quite as bad as smallpox, but I have seen photographs of people in Africa with the monkeypox, and their pustules are probably a quarter of an inch in diameter and sticking out from their face a quarter of an inch. It really is bad, and so if that leaves scars, they're going to be massive scarring. So isn't unsanitary water, well, it being a cause, it how many cities in this country have have safe drinking water? And I have even heard that as the number of bodies increases, they will liquefy. And does that then go into our drinking water? And the other question I have: how many of our shots? Let's put it that way. And I don't mean just the recent one developed under emergency use, but ones that kids have been getting. How many of those have monkey DNA in them? So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Oh boy, Diva, I did not know that. What do you guys think of the Democrats putting forth a bill requiring women to register to vote? Boy, I sure have heard some pushback on that, but is anybody pushing back and calling representatives about this? Just because Israel registers male and female, and just because the feminists want to be equal and the men have become so feminized, good grief. Um, they found out in Arizona, in Maricopa County, that the election passwords had not been changed in 2 years. No wonder they were so easily hacked into. In Latvia, a parliamentary member said, quote, if it is now, of course, this is this quote is a translation, but he said, if it is not possible to jab everyone sufficiently, we will have to legally approve euthanasia. Oh my goodness. Um, speaking of showering, I have showered here all year. I had a well of my own, and so I treated my water myself in Maryland, and I'm on city water now. But um, I wish I had done it sooner, but I have every intention at this point of buying filters for the shower heads. It's time, a year of being exposed to hot water that opens your pores, and then whatever's in the water can go into your skin. Um, I appreciate the U.S. representative, and I didn't catch his name, that is suggesting no immigration for 10 years, because these immigrants are coming in with no testing, no required testing for any illnesses at all. They're just coming in, and look what they're doing they're being treated so much better than we are in many respects. I watched a video of the CEO of Moderna, who said that they had designed the shot on the computer in just 2 days. And they realized that the spike protein was the best. So, quote, we just went with it, he said. Um, Now we know the spike protein is because of the graphene in it and everything that is just really destroying somebody's immune system. And by this fall, we're going to see lots of immune diseases coming up. All right, I ready. Oh, it was Dr. Peter McCullough from Texas University that talked about the CDC is no longer going to be counting the failure of the shot and only reporting the ones who don't get the shot and what happens to them. So they're no longer taking any report. So everything's going to be skewed. Everything will be skewed. We know the truth, but the lies are going to just increase. Um, I also heard just a little bit ago that there are 33 federal prisons that are unmanned with crematoria in them. So there has to be a reason those are strategically placed. Now, Michael Ferris at Alliance Defending Freedom um, on Facebook had a really good he wrote something very good there, and I am going to read it tomorrow rather than reading it right now because I want to get to the Bible study. Since I won't be here Thursday, we're going to read all of 26 today, half of 27, and then tomorrow we'll read the other half of 27 and 28. So we're not getting behind, because next week we're going to pick up the 5 weekend days that we've missed. Proverbs 26. I thought about titling today's show analogies, but because, well, you'll hear folly is so much like this and like that, but I decided to just leave it so much folly. Like snow in summer or rain during the harvest, honor is not fitting for a fool. So we're going to hear all these things that are not appropriate, or all these ways that are like foolishness. Like a fluttering sparrow or a darting swallow, an undeserved curse does not come to rest. You know, when I think of all the times that HRC and others in high places cursed Larry for what he did and what he could do and what he knew and what he told, he was doing the right thing. And although he suffered so greatly, I had that scripture. That was one of the scriptures I had up on my wall, that an undeserved curse does not land. You know, just like a swallow darting around, it doesn't land. It's just floating around. And there's another place in scripture that says if the curse is not undeserved, it actually goes back on the one who is cursing. A whip for the horse, a halter for the donkey, and a rod for the backs of fools. And of course, we know that, well, I'll just flip over to Proverbs 29:15. Says the rod of, no, 29, yeah, 15. The rod of correction imparts wisdom, but a child left to itself will become a disgrace. So, you know, there's another place where it says, I think I read it earlier in the book of Proverbs, you know, a rod is not going to kill the child. Not everybody needs it. Not everybody needs it. And not everybody needs it frequently, because it cannot be an instrument of punishment. It must be an instrument of training. And I have even read stories of where a young child really misbehaved, and the father was so upset about having to discipline with the rod that he told the child to beat him. And it really got hold of the child's attention and changed. And one of the things that I learned very early and applied with my kids when something severe was necessary was, you never leave the child weeping on their own. You know, if a child thinks they don't deserve it, or they think you have overreacted and been too harsh with them, they will become very resentful. So you don't want that. And so the answer to that is staying with the child while the child is crying, comforting the child afterwards, if necessary, even weeping with the child that you didn't want to do this. Don't say it hurts them or you more than it hurts them. That's just ridiculous. But I know this hurts, but you've got to realize how severe your mistake was. Army Patriot, Larry died on September 27th last year. Tomorrow would have been his 71st birthday. He died September 27th. His last program with us was September 25th on that Friday. He died Sunday afternoon. And the last thing he told to us was, at this point, we have to recognize that the most important thing left for us to do, the only thing left for us to do is to seek God's face. I did not desert my children. Um, and the reason I am here is because I was asked to stay here by everybody who comes into the chat. So, and everybody here is positive and encouraging to one another without being harshly critical. So, that is your answer. So, the next two verses are kind of interesting. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you'll be like him yourself. And then it says, answer a fool according to his folly, or he'll be wise in his own eyes. So, don't answer a fool, do answer a fool. Some can be trained by it, others can't. So, I'm giving Karen grace. If she comes back negative again, I will block her. But if she has an honest question that I have answered and she's upset about it for lack of understanding, then I have answered her and we will just let this go. Like cutting off your feet or drinking violence is the sending of a message by the hand of a fool. That we read similar in chapter 10, as vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so is a sluggard to the one who sends him. We have come across a couple different places where it's talked about somebody who doesn't carry a message very well. Like a lame man's legs that hang limp and are useless, can't stand. They're just the legs become useless because they can't use them anymore. A lame man or a paralyzed person in such a way is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. Like tying a stone in a sling. Your stone's not going to go do its job when you pull the sling back. The slingshot, if it's tied in there, it's not going anywhere. It's useless to you. You might as well just pull it back empty as have it tied. That's like giving honor to a fool. Like a thorn bush in a drunkard's hand. Can you imagine a drunkard, the way he's flailing about and can't walk a straight line? He's got a thorn bush. He's just going to be swinging it around. People are going to be hurt. Welcome, Susan. That's what happens with a proverb in the mouth of a fool. He's just lashing out every which way with what he thinks is words of wisdom, but like an archer, that's somebody who shoots a bow and arrow. Like an archer who wounds at random. Now, this reminds me of one of the stories that Larry told us. People so often said, I got my guns, bring it on, try and take them away from me and so on. And Larry said, having a weapon is nothing if you are not well trained in how to use it. Because when stress hits, and Larry knew this very well, when stress hits, you lose the ability to shoot carefully. And he said the last thing you want to do is what it says here. Like an archer who wounds at random is he who hires a fool or any passerby, because the last thing you want to do is have a stray bullet go through and hit your neighbor. Do you see a man wise in his own eyes? There's more hope for a fool than for that person. Now, what is BNY Mellon? Is that a medical center in Pittsburgh? Yeah, the desperation of the wicked. I mean, they're cutting their nose off to spite their faces, folks. It's just ridiculous. The sluggard says there's a lion in the road, a fierce lion roaming the streets. So, this is the sluggard is often referred to as the lazy person, but this is also somebody, a bank. Now that's really ridiculous because they've got those acrylic screens. Unbelievable. Okay, the sluggard. There's a lion in the street, and he's scared to go outside. This is somebody with agoraphobia. There's a which is a mental illness. There's also people who have schizophrenia. Um, and notice I said who have schizophrenia. Schizophrenic is not something somebody is. Schizophrenia, diabetes, autism, mental illness is something somebody has. Please never call somebody the illness that they have, and never call it as if it is something they are. I would never say I'm a diabetic. I would say I have diabetes. I would never say this person is retarded or this person has a mental intellectual disability. You be careful with your words, because you don't want to that's putting a curse on somebody by saying what they are. That's something that got drilled into me through many years of higher education. Okay. As a door turns on its hinges, so here's another thing on laziness. So a sluggard turns on his bed. But on the other hand, it's not just the sluggard that's doing this. There are people who have immunity illnesses, chronic fatigue syndrome, and so on, that it is very hard to get out of bed and do things. People with going through chemo, and there's so many reasons to just, those of us that had COVID, it wipes out the system for such a long time. It is so hard to get up and get going. The sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who answer discreetly. So here we go again with the fool, just being wise in his own eyes, like one who seizes a dog by the ears. I don't know if you've ever done that with a strange dog, but I know, just like trying to hold a dog's paws to get them used to having their nails clipped, we need to when with your pet, you play with their ears to help them calm down. Just teaching them to be patient with people. Like one who seizes a dog's ears is a passerby who meddles in a quarrel that's none of their business. You might get bit for butting in. Like a madman shooting firebrands or deadly arrows is a man who deceives his neighbor and says, "I was only joking." That's like shooting off your weapon and it goes through across the street and you go, "Well, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry." Without wood, a fire goes out. Without gossip, a quarrel dies down. This whole issue of gossiping, some of us are extremely curious people and have a desire to know as much as possible about anything and everything, and have a tendency to put our nose where it doesn't belong. No, Kelly, that was overturned. I'm afraid that you can't. They let the employers off the hook for requiring it. I was pretty upset about that. That they got, they're letting. Okay, zip it. I'm not going there. As charcoal to embers and wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome man for kindling strife. These proverbs, just, every one of them has such a bite to it. It's amazing. The words of a gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to a man's inmost parts. Yeah, teachers, and there are certain occupations where you have to ask people about private information, and HIPAA laws forbid you for saying something. But there are other positions where you hear information from children. You really do need to be very wise, because I know private information. I've been in situations where the school has tried to gather private information, and you really don't have a whole lot of control over what a child says. So, it's hard to teach children that if they are asked about private information, because children are taught to answer questions. but to train them that if somebody asks them private information, they need to say, ask my mom. Like a coating of glaze over earthenware. And of course, I've been around potters. I took a class myself, so I know what this is like. And I would also say, like a woman putting on lipstick, are fervent lips with an evil heart. You've got you got makeup on, you've got this pretty exterior, but what's inside is wicked. Watch out for that. A malicious man disguises himself with his lips, but in his heart he harbors deceit. So, we need discernment. Though his speech is charming, don't believe him, for 7 abominations fill his heart. You've got to know what the heart of the person is before you get too open. His malice may be concealed by deception, but his wickedness will eventually be exposed. If a man digs a pit, here's what goes around comes around, right? Doesn't ever say in scripture what goes around comes around, but here's one of those circumstances that kind of fit the principle. If a man digs a deep pit, he's the one that's going to fall into it. If a man rolls a stone, it's going to roll back on him, at least if he's rolling it uphill. A lying tongue hates those that it hurts. So if you love somebody, be careful about the lies, because that proves you don't love them. And a flattering mouth works ruin. So now going into chapter 27, don't boast about tomorrow, because you don't know what a day may bring forth. The Lord talked about that too. He says, people go around saying, today we're going to do this, tomorrow we're going to do something that. He said, you don't know what a day's going to bring forth. So say, if the Lord wills it, we're going to do this or that. And I don't remember if that was Jesus that said that or Paul, and I wasn't planning on reading the next chapter until just before got a phone call asking for help on Thursday, so I decided to go ahead. Let another praise you and not your own mouth. Boy, I tell you, was that hard for me, because when you think you deserve praise and nobody recognizes you, it's a little hard not to toot your own horn. But Larry clamped down on that with me real hard. Let someone else praise you and not your own lips. Stone is, Larry said we would never get credit for the things that he had done behind the scenes. And I have to say, I understand that, because when I worked at McLean Bible Church, that I was there for 5 years. Every year, a church-wide policy, even in multiple locations, was put into effect that I had found a way to initiate. But I was never, ever, ever given any credit for any of it. But that wasn't the point. The point was, I had seen something that needed to be done to protect the children in our care, not just in my babysitting program, but also the Sunday school program. And so, there are times when it's more important to make sure the right thing gets done instead of getting credit for it. It's not important. Larry had a soft side to him that he begged me not to let people know about, because he had a reputation as a real tough guy because of the things that he did and the way he could hold politicians' feet to the fire and the way he told the truth about what was going on. He was tough as nails, but boy, I'll tell you, inside he had a melted marshmallow heart that he didn't want anybody to know about while he was alive, to clamp down on people. But yes, he was a Southern gentleman of gentlemen. Stone is heavy and sand is a burden. It's hard to lift. But provocation by a fool is even heavier than both of those. Anger is cruel and fury can be overwhelming. But who can stand before jealousy? Better is open rebuke than hidden love. No, man, I got a lot to say about that one, but I'm going to let it go. The kisses of an enemy may be profuse, but faithful are the wounds of a friend. And when I first started talking to Larry, he pointed out, bar none, my biggest flaw. And I was at a point, enough already. I've heard this enough times. It's time for this to change. And I asked for his help, and he helped, and I appreciated that. It was an open rebuke, but that was so much better than hidden love would have been. And I don't mean with him, I mean with somebody else, family, or so on. The kisses of an enemy may be profuse, but faithful are the wounds of a friend. He who is full loathes even honey. You don't want dessert if you're too stuffed. But to the hungry, even what is bitter tastes sweet. Like a bird that strays from his nest is a man who strays from his home. Now, sometimes these birds are kicked out and they're not quite ready, but you certainly don't want a bird intentionally straying if they're not ready to go. Perfume and incense bring joy to the heart, or I would say essential oils are very healing. And the pleasantness of one's friendship springs from earnest counsel. You know, when you've got somebody who gives you good advice, boy, there is a bond that connects between the two of you that can be very, very tight. Don't forsake your friend, and don't forsake your father's friend. Don't go to your brother's house when disaster strikes, because it's better to have a nearby neighbor than a brother who's far away that you can't get to. Be wise, my son. Bring joy to my heart so I can answer anyone who treats me with contempt. And we'll end on verse 12 of chapter 27. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple just keep going and suffer for it. And it takes discernment sometimes to recognize when danger is approaching you. You know, sometimes it's not always obvious, especially with these wolves in sheep's clothing who make like they're your friend and they're out to protect you, like our congressmen pretend to be. And yet, actually, everything is for them. I mean, we're at a point that we've got to be prepared for what's coming. I had a call both last night and yesterday and this morning were fun. I started getting calls at 4 o'clock, and I'd be talking, and Linda, I have to apologize to you. The reason I told you I'd call you back, the reason was because phone calls came in. I'm sorry, I got to cut this call short. I got to take the next call. And then I had to take the next. I had phone calls till 9:30 from, I think, whenever you called me, Linda. I think it was 4 o'clock, something like that. By the time 9:30 rolled around, I was too exhausted to call anybody back. And that started this morning at 6:30 this morning. It was call after call after call till about 11 o'clock. It's like, okie doke. Some days are quiet and some days aren't. And, you know, there's great joy in helping somebody get through stuff. Um, there have been people who have gotten a placebo. They're just getting saline solution. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she was, the press secretary for a while under Trump, and she is running for governor of Arkansas. And she put out a lengthy notice yesterday about promoting the jab, promoting the juice, saying that she had gotten it, and if it was good enough for all Trump's family to have gotten it. But I'll tell you, when I have seen some of these famous people, like Ivanka was videoed and put that up when a nurse came. But of course, they hid the needle. It looked to me as it was going in that there was no needle there, but the nurse put her hand up so you couldn't see what was going in. Very, very, very astutely covered up. So, there were people who got nothing more than saline, because if it's experimental, you have to have a control group. So they may be knowing who they're doing for in a control group. Also, in the beginning, they were giving the saline solution so people could say, I got it, didn't hurt me, I'm fine, you can get it too. So there's just a lot of deception going on, and a lot of people participating in this ignorantly. But I was so excited about Sarah Sanders running for office to be governor, but yeah, I haven't been able to have a conversation with her yet or get anywhere. Don't know where she is or how to connect, so I haven't figured that out yet. So I'm still waiting. There's time. But Big, you raise an incredible question. Yes, I compromise your health when you're already healthy. Compromise your health further if you've had something that's going to now give you lifetime immunity. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Or if you're a child with 99.9% recovery rate, good grief. This is just, well, without a doubt, um, Bill Gates has told the truth on the depopulation agenda. So get rid of most. And folks, if you know people, do what you have to do to have what time you can have left with them, because the repercussions are going to start manifesting more and more and more and increasingly as time goes by. So love on family, love on friends and neighbors. Um, think about what you're going to do if something happens. What if they're too busy to come pick up the body? What are you going to do? You need to, we have to think about these things, folks. We have to think about these things. All right, on that, don't forget John G. Lake helped take care of people with some, was it the Spanish flu? He said, you can put that virus on my hand and watch what happened. And they put swabs and stuff under the microscope, and because of his walk with God and his gift in healing, it didn't come near him. Scripture says that even serpents, vipers, and scorpions cannot hurt you. It's in Psalm 91. We've got to get ourselves pressed into the Lord. That's why Larry came back on February 26, 2018, when he died, and we prayed and he came back to life. I assembled a team to pray him back to life because I knew he had not finished his mission that God had given him. I knew God had given him a very strong mission and he wasn't done. And I knew Satan was trying to take him out before he could take down the portions of the deep state that he had all the goods on. And so I knew that I was praying within God's will. Now, being able to do that for any other circumstance, I haven't been able to do yet. But I was thinking about it over this weekend, and I said, God, that faith that I had to ask you to send Larry back to life, I'm claiming that same faith in other circumstances, because the scripture says we're to desire the more profitable gifts. And I think we're at a time where being able to pray and touch people and pray for them and bring them back into health is a very important gift to have. Wisdom's important. There's so many that are important. But when we're going to start seeing people dying because of the effort being made, and don't forget, when people are scared, they are more controllable by the government. Stalin said it. Goebbels said it to Hitler. And then, like Larry had told us, once people are brainwashed, it is, you can present, and it only Larry said it only takes 2 weeks. Now, Stalin said it took a month. Larry said no, only 2 weeks, when you have frightened them adequately. And then when you present the truth to them, even if you have absolute irrefutable proof, people do not want to admit they've been duped. And so it is very difficult. It is going to be very difficult going forward if truth comes out even more than what we know, because we were called conspiracy theorists. The fact that we knew the truth and other people didn't believe. Some of them are going to say, wow, you did have the truth. Help me now. Others are going to say, they will not be willing to admit they were duped. They won't. They're too filled with pride to admit they made a mistake. So be prepared for that in your family members and friends and loved ones and neighbors. Anyhow, um, got it, Diva. Yep. Um, God bless you. I will be back as long as we have internet. I will be back tomorrow, and I will be here on Wednesday. I will not be here Thursday. All right. God bless you, folks, and see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Oh, by the way, I have good news. I met some people, a pastor's wife and members of a family that works at a church, and had some incredible. We stood in the 90-degree heat under a tree in the driveway Saturday night. Um, I was invited to come meet these people, and we had the most blessed time of fellowship. And I found out that they have a prayer meeting once a week. So I'm excited getting to get a chance to do that. So better run. Thanks for what you shared there. Take care to everybody, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Bye bye. Same time.